Welcome back to Predicting the NFL with Mickey G. And this week we're going to figure out whether or not I win 8-8. Now that the most exciting part of the video has passed, let's move on into week 3's recap, right? So, I was about 7-9. I got the numbers 9 and 7 right, but the wrong order, I'm almost kind of glad, because at least I didn't get 8-8 for the third week in a row, which would have been quite stupid. Which takes me now to a 23-25 overall record. That's horrible. I have a losing record. This is garbage. I'm doing horribly this year, and I feel like a lot of other people are too. Just because the fact that the NFL is just all over the place this week, this year. The entirety is just so many surprises, and it's just quite frustrating. I'm now 2-1 in the game of the week. I was incorrect. The Steelers ended up winning only by a 3-point margin, though. I was close, but I don't get the dub. And because of this, I win a 7-9. The Crap Fest, I'm 1-2. This was the only one I was right about. The Seahawks beat the Cowboys, so that was good. Great stuff there. The upset, I was now 2-1 because I got the Browns right, baby. They got their first win. Congratulations, Cleveland. It's your first win in a quite long time. So good job for you. Very proud. And go have all your free beer, which I'm assuming you already did since that was ways ago. Was wrong in my Broncos pick. I'm like, Case Keenum didn't even find a way to win. Started out well, and then Ravens played a good game. They got that dub there. Jaguars, their offense couldn't do anything. The defense played well. They only allowed 6 points. When they had 2 red zone trips, the Titans did 2 or 3 red zone trips. They only got a field goal out of them. That's pretty good. It's just their offense. The receivers weren't catching the ball. Stuff was off. It was not a good game there. Dolphins won again. They're 3-0, which is crazy. I was wrong in my pick for the Bengals. They let me down. Panthers won that game there. Christian McCaffrey had a great game running the ball. However, no touchdowns. I was wrong in my selection of the Giants and the Texans. Texans could not do anything until the second half, as usual. And the Giants played a very good game. However, they were allowing lots of sacks, to no one's surprise. The San Francisco and the Chiefs, Mahomes continues to destroy everyone. However, Jimmy G did get injured, so that is a bad break for the 49ers for sure. The Bills surprised the entirety of the nation, beating the Vikings. 2 fumbles from Kirk and a pick. This was a very frustrating game for me, considering the fact that in 4 out of the 6 fantasy leagues I have, I started Kirk Cousins because he was playing the Bills. So of course I'm going to start Kirk Cousins. Are you kidding me? And instead, he had 10 points because they sucked. But that's... Carson Wentz gets a dub in the first game back in a close one against the Colts, so good for him. The Rams were not surprised. They ended up winning. They beat the Chargers, who still had a good game, but not as good as the Rams, to no one's surprise. Our second surprise of the week was the Lions beating New England. This is the Lions team that got destroyed by Sam Darnold and the Jets in week 1 and have not looked good since, and they just destroyed the Patriots. It wasn't as big of a margin, I'd say, as the Buffalo over Minnesota, but it was a sizable margin, and this is also after the Patriots are coming off a loss to the Jaguars. This is now 2 losses in a row, which is quite unheard of when talking about the Patriots. So there's that insanity going on there to add to the craziness of this week. The Saints, they pulled out a winner against the Falcons, and apparently Drew Brees is one of the most athletic quarterbacks in the NFL, pulling a spin move and sending multiple guys into a nice little spin cycle there. getting a touchdown. Great games by both teams, but once again, no defense when playing the NFC South. The third shocker of the game, at least for me, the Redskins demolished the Packers. I was expecting, Aaron Rodgers, do what he usually does, but apparently not. And so the Redskins took it to him and got an easy win, even without really using Chris Thompson as well, which really surprised me, considering that the first 2 weeks he'd been a huge part of that offense. AP had a much better game than he did week 2, so good to see that. Big fan of him. I was correct in my assumption that the Cardinals are still bad, so the Bears got a nice win there. Good for them. And that is really all for this week, besides the fact that there's lots of stupid roughing the passer penalties, which no one is quite surprised. But there's been like 33 already in 3 weeks of football, when there's been like 8 or 10 that are like 17. It's a huge margin that there's already been accepted roughing passer penalties compared to previous years when there's been like 17 or 18 on the entire season. So it's crazy stuff like that. And then also there's Vance McDonald, who just absolutely destroyed a man with that tough stiff arm, going like 79 yards for a touchdown against the Buccaneers. That is all for the recap. It is time to move in to the predictions. And our first game is also our crap fest. This is the second week in a row that our first game has been one of the 3 special ones. And in this game, it is the Texans at Indianapolis. Excuse me there. And this is a crap fest because these are the 2 bottom teams of the division. And a division that I expected to be one of the best divisions in the league. But it is really turning out to be not. It's very disappointed, especially in these 2 teams, Texans and the Colts. I knew there was going to be a slow start with Andrew Luck, but I did not expect them to keep losing. There have been multiple games and they've been right there, and they just keep dropping down. And then the Texans, on the other hand, they've been supposed to be good, supposed to be really good. Sean Watson's back, J.J. Watt's back, Jamin Klein's back, who's no longer back, and they bring in all these guys, and they're playing good games. They just can't get ahead. They've been behind for almost the entire season and only playing well, really, in the second half. However, though, I think that finally the Texans, they get their stuff going and they get a win against a not very exciting Colts team. Next on our list is the Jets at the Jaguars. Okay, I don't think the Jaguars are going to be wearing white with teal anytime soon, considering that the only time they've done it, they have lost. So that is not good for them. But also, this is a Jets team that started off real hot. We were getting excited for them. I got a little too excited for them. Now they're starting to get back into what the Jets usually do. Jaguars, they're going to bounce back from a tough loss to the Titans. And they're going to go out there. They're going to do their stuff. And they're going to get this win against the Jets. The third game, this is our upset of the week. Dolphins at Patriots. Now, this could be an upset either way. Technically, Dolphins are undefeated, right? They have a better record than the Patriots, meaning that, upset Patriots win. Or, which is the more likely, it's still the Patriots, and they're playing the Dolphins, who have not usually beat them, right? So, I'm going to pick Tannehill and friends. They're going to step up. They're going to play great. They're going to continue their streak, and they're going to move on to 4-0 against this Patriots team. Big win for them. Really good confidence booster, but they have to play them again later in the season, and that could be interesting. Next, we have the Browns. We have the Browns at Oakland. Okay. Gruden, you've been close, but you just keep dropping the ball. You got to finish a game, my man. And the Browns have finally tasted that sweet victory. They want some more. Now, they're excited. This is going to be their first full game with Baker Mayfield as their starting quarterback. And I think he continues what he did on Thursday night. He goes out there, he plays his heart out, and he gets his second dub as a Cleveland Brown. So, now moving on, we have the Ravens at the Steelers. Steelers coming off their first win of the season. That's a big thing for them since they started out real slow and a loss and a tie in their first 2 weeks. Now, they're playing a Ravens team that just coming off a good win against the Broncos. Okay? Now, this is always a great matchup. This is always a hard-fought battle. But now the Steelers have realized, hey, let's get our stuff going. We're going to have to play some better defense because we still aren't doing well there. However, they're going to continue to rise. They're going to continue to play better. And this time, they're going to go out there and they're going to beat the Ravens and move themselves to 2-1-1. Our next game is the Chiefs at the Broncos. And this is a great divisional game. You know, Patrick Mahomes still flying high. Case Keenum coming off a tough loss there. I think it's hard to stop. No one's been able to stop Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs so far this year. So I think they continue that trend and they move on to 4-0. On to the AFC NFC games, we have the Bengals at Atlanta. Now, this is a Falcons team that just came off a tough loss to the Saints, and they want some vengeance. But this is a Bengals team that also just came off a loss. Now, they're going to go out there. Both teams are going to play hard, but I feel like the Falcons are going to be able to do it because they have to prove that they are still a team that is worthy of the playoffs. When the Bengals, they just have to prove that they're an okay team. So the Falcons are going to try more, and they're going to go out there, and they're going to play a better game, and they're going to get the win here. Next game, we have Buffalo at Green Bay. Last week was a fluke. Buffalo, you're not going to win many games this season. You might only win one. That might be it. Yes, you played a good game, but that is due to a lot of turnovers. A lot of things that don't usually happen, okay? This is a Packers team that themselves have just come off of a loss. Aaron Rodgers is going to be angry. Aaron Rodgers is going to have his lucky rabbit's foot. He's going to make sure that he does not lose this game against a team that is horrible, okay? He's going to come out there. He's going to get this win. Buffalo 1-3. Next, we have Carson Wentz in his second game back playing the Titans, who are coming off a big win against the Jaguars, and they want to keep rising. However, Carson Wentz is going to be more comfortable this second game in the pocket, and he's going to be more familiarized with the rest of his team, and they're going to go out there, and he's going to get his second of the season, and the Eagles are going to move in to 3-1. Our final game, the AFC-NFC matchups, is the San Francisco 49ers at the Chargers. Now, the Chargers have been struggling a little bit this year. They've been able to get a win, but the 49ers have lost their quarterback. This is a very devastating blow. Now, whoever their backup is, I don't really know. I don't really care. It's not going to matter. Phillip Rivers, Melvin Gordon, that high-powered offense is going to get it done here, and they're going to win in LA. Moving on to the NFC, we have our game of the week. We have the Vikings at the Rams. Now, I know they just lost to the Bills, but the Vikings are still a very good team. Their defense is still very good. If they hadn't been given such good field position, the Bills probably would not have done as well as they did. We have to remember this. After a loss like this, you're going to restructure how you do these things. You're going to make sure those mistakes don't happen again. But they are playing a Rams team that is very, very good. They might even be the best team in the NFC right now. That is definitely something to watch. The Rams are on the top of their game. Their defense is stacked. Their offense is stacked. They are a very good team, and I think they continue their winning ways and beat the Vikings. Moving on, we have Fitzpatrick, possibly, or is it Jameis Winston at the Bears? This is going to be interesting. I think they should start Fitzpatrick. So do a lot of other people. But they still have to make that decision themselves for whether or not they want to start Jameis Winston after 3 games of suspension. Fitzpatrick did lose with 3 picks on Monday night. However, he's had 400 yards passing and almost brought them back in the second half. I believe they're going to stay with Fitzpatrick because he has been doing the job well and he's been getting it done. They move on. They beat the Bears and they go to 3-1. Next, we have the Lions at the Cowboys. The Lions just had their best game of the season, maybe for the rest of the season too. They beat the Patriots. Not many teams can say they do that each year. This is very important because they just had their best game and they're going to be riding that high. And their offense looks very good. Kerryon Johnson had 100 yards rushing for the Lions. That doesn't often happen. If they can get that running game going and keep their passing attack, they're going to be a difficult team to stop. And with a Cowboys team that is very mediocre. They just lost to the Seahawks, who have little to no offensive line. I believe that the Lions go out here, they get a win, and they get very excited for the rest of the season. Next, we have the Seahawks at the Cardinals. Cardinals are bad, but they are starting Josh Rosen, which could really change around the entire dynamic of the team. Now, the Seahawks are just riding off a win. A great win. Great job for you down in Seattle. But this is still going to be difficult for them to do. But I believe they're going to be riding high. It's going to be Josh Rosen's first game. It's hard for a rookie to go into a game and just win. He's got to have a team around him, and that is what the Cardinals do not have. They could, but for whatever reason, it's just not meshing this year, and it's not looking good. I think the Seahawks go out there, they get the win, and they move to a shocking 2-2. Finally, our last game, we have the Saints at the Giants. The Giants coming off a great win against the Texans, and the Saints coming off a great win against the Falcons. Giants defense isn't that great. Neither is the Saints, allowing heck of points. But the Saints do have a much better offense than the rookie running back Saquon Barkley and Odell and all those guys. Much better offense. They have more weapons. They have the ability to use them better. They're not as young as they were last year, and they are still doing great. I think Saints go out there, Breeze just brings them over, and they get that win right there, and that finishes off this week. Thank you for watching. This was lots of fun. Had a great time. Smash the like button. Come back next week, and let's do this. Adios.